Very exciting package came in today. Just tear right into it. Haven't even looked at these yet. This is the first time we're going to check these out. Wow. These weigh nothing. These are the stealth heads from 440 Source. They're basically a 906 head, but in aluminum. And it comes with all sorts of goodies. It's all aluminum, obviously. And you've got bigger valves, oversized valves in stock, smaller combustion chamber. So these things are going to flow better than stock. So these heads will have bigger valves, better flow all the way around. They weigh basically half. And what I've bought here, 10-degree locks and retainers. Let me focus on that. That's the new one. That's the stock one. You look right there. This is your retainer. Here's your lock. You can tell that the lock itself is way bigger. Much nicer. So I went with that from Comp. They recommended that for the cam that I'm running. So I'm just going to have to go through, take all of the springs out, and then change them out, which is no big deal. And once I do that, we'll bolt them on the car. So with the heads, here's our new Arp Head Bolts. 12 point, look really good. Went with the black bolts, I think they look really nice. And we got a complete set of head bolts as well as the Arp intake bolts to match. And then here's our Champion spark plugs. The reason I got intake bolts was because of our Edelbrock RPM aluminum intake. And there is one side done. All new locks and retainers. Those things are huge. Look awesome. Those things ain't coming out. Just stuck a couple bolts in there so they don't fall off. Figured you guys might want to see how it looks against that turquoise, because I know I love it. What I want to do tonight is get the other side with the valve springs in, stick it on just like this one, and then we'll stick a couple bolts on the intake on the top, and then we'll get an idea of what we have. So I figured I'd offer a little bit of an explanation on what I'm doing here. So if you're not really familiar with how a cylinder head works, these are your valves. These open and close. Look on the back side here. You can see them opening and closing. This is your intake over here. I can't open it, but and then your exhaust on this side. So intake comes in, explodes, exhaust lets it out. So I'm taking the retainers and the locks off because if you look at the difference, the new ones are much bigger. On top of having this, you have to have this retainer here over stock. So if you look, let me grab the light. You can tell that the hole is bigger to accommodate for the larger locks. And what those locks will do is when the valve spring is properly compressed and in place like that, I have to decompress it to pull the locks out. The locks will actually sit right here on the valve stem. So you've got two locks, one on each side. You have to compress the spring with the retainer on it, slide the locks in, and then let go of the spring and decompress it, and those locks will stay in place, and it keeps the spring from bouncing out. Figured I'd go over some of the specs of the 440 Source cylinder heads here. They're basically, from what I understand, cast like a 906 head, and they made it pretty much look like a factory style cylinder head, which is pretty neat. And if you really want to be stealthy with it, which is why they call it stealth, you could paint this the same color as the engine and you'd never even know the difference pretty much. With these closed chambered heads, we have on the intake side 214 for the size and then 181 on the exhaust. So all in all, this is going to perform better than a stock 906 head can. Not only will it perform better, it'll look cool, way less, and the combustion chamber is way smaller, so you get a little bit of a boost of compression. I just told you though, it comes with those 7-degree locks and retainers, which aren't bad. There's nothing wrong with them, but they recommended that for my cam, they said go with the 10 degrees, which as you can see, I'm going to keep all these in case I want to put it on something else, but these are all brand new locks and retainers. There's nothing wrong with them, but I wanted to go with the bigger one as their recommendation went with, so that's what I did. Let's go ahead and set this on the 440 and just see how they look. Look at how this thing, holy crap, what is that? What are you? Like some mutant grasshopper? Whoa. Dude, he likes the heads. What you think, buddy? You a fan? Whoa. He's massive, too. What do you think, Repo? So disregarding the grasshopper, the heads and the intake really threw this thing together. And man, does it look good. It's all just sitting on with like 1 or 2 bolts. Just sit it on there so I can get the feel for what it looks like. But wow, I'm really motivated right now. So I'm going to take all this back off, throw the heads on with the gasket and everything, and then prime it, throw on the valley pan, intake, and then we'll go from there. What do you think about that, grasshopper? You good? I think he likes it. But let's just take a second to appreciate how beautiful that turquoise looks with the bare aluminum. I am a huge fan. I didn't know if I was going to paint any of this. I thought I might leave the intake bare at least, but seeing the heads on it really makes it look amazing, especially with the aluminum water pump and housing. And then the black, man, it looks so good. Can't wait to put this in the charger. Okay, the intake is about to go on. I've got the initial gasket sitting on there with some weather stripping glue. That way we can keep the gasket from moving around on me. We'll throw the valley pan on, and then the other set of gaskets go with it. Then the intake. Alright, everything is bolted down tight, good to go. We've got the torque converter bolts in, flex plate is torqued to spec, as you saw. So it's late, it's dark outside actually right now, so we're going to pick this up in the morning. Before we put it in, I want to take all this back off. It's just bolted on there by hand. I didn't tighten anything down or put a gasket on it, so I'll take the water pump housing off and all the pulleys and accessories and everything, and we'll drop this sucker in. I'm really excited about this. This thing looks awesome. I just can't get over how good it looks. Hopefully it runs as well as it looks. That's the goal here. So I'll see you guys in the morning. Go down. second. Get closer, drop it, slide backwards. So, yeah, I think we good now. 440 is officially off the stand and into the charger. I'm not gonna lie, this thing looks so good sitting in here. It'll look even better when we start getting our water pump housing back on and all of our serpentine belt accessories and all that stuff. Then we'll get the cold case radiator out of the box into the car. We'll do some wiring. I gotta get headers next. That's probably the next big step because I have to probably lift the engine back out. It's not bolted in, it's just sitting in the mounts for the front cross member and then the rear cross member for the transmission. It's all just sitting in there right now. It's not bolted in. But I'll probably have to lift it back up in order to get the headers in because it's kind of a tight squeeze right here if you can tell. But I love the way it looks. I was kind of iffy on whether or not I'd like the bare aluminum up top, but man does it look good. I'm definitely glad I didn't go with the painted look on these because, I don't know, it just looks so good with that turquoise. I don't know if I'll go with these valve covers. These are just on here to keep stuff from getting inside. I like the way they look. I've always liked these valve covers. But I don't know if I want to go with something different just to kind of mix it up a little bit. Because these are nice valve covers, but you never know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, next step, headers, get everything bolted in, then do all the front accessories, radiator, everything hooked up, plumbed. I've got oil in, I've already primed it, and finish up the dipsticks, transmission fluid, what else? Then do some makeshift wiring just to get it to where I can drive the thing. Throw a drive shaft in it, break it in, and move it around. So as I've mentioned in previous videos, the goal for the charger is to actually get it to where I can move it around. That way I can drive it in and out of the shop if I need to. Because pushing it around is just kind of a bit obnoxious, and I'd really like to get the car where I can, after it's broken in and everything, get it to where I can back it out, drive it to storage or whatever I need to do, put it into the carport, and have something else in here we can work on. Because that way this thing's out of the way in case we have to work on something else. But that's not a big issue at the moment, but that's kind of the short-term goal, which is why we're getting the engine and transmission in right now. And that's kind of the next step that I'm going to go towards, is get everything ready to break the cam in and have the car where it's movable, which includes, you know, bleeding the brakes, finishing those up, doing the rear suspension, you know, stuff like that. But if you look on the inside, this car is just packed full of new parts, old parts, everything. We've got all sorts of junk I've got to clean out, because after we get the car to where it can move, I'm going to clean out everything and gut it. Take everything out, including the windshield because it's busted, and the dash. I want to take all this out so that way that if there's any holes that need to be patched, which I'm obviously sure that there is, I can patch those. And I'll talk about some things that I've got planned while the interior is out that I'm not sure yet how that's going to work, but I'll tell you here in a little while. But we'll pull the dash out when the windshield's out because it's just easier that way. Rewire everything, and like I've mentioned, I'm going with air conditioning so we can do it at that point. But other than that, I'm waiting on that because I don't want to tackle all of this because it's going to be a lot, as you can see. Moving all this stuff out and getting all of it cleaned out, which is why I haven't checked for a build sheet yet because there's so many parts in here. But don't worry, I'm going to check for a build sheet. I just have not taken the time to empty all this out. But now that the charger has finally got the 440 in it, that means that the engine stand is void. So here's the 360. You'll see more about that in a later video. So that is going to do it for today's video, guys. We got a lot done. We got the engine and transmission and the charger, which is a huge step in the right direction. So instead of taking things off of the car, we're kind of moving in, putting stuff back in. I know we did the front suspension a long time ago, it feels like now, but the engine is in the car, and that definitely motivates me. We're going to make a lot of progress right here soon. This kind of opens up a door as far as further progress goes into making things work. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions for me. Send in your projects, the email's at the end of the video. And guys, it is still not too late to win the mirror, the original mirror off of this car that I signed right here. It's not too late. Go order you a sticker. It's $5. You can go on my description down below. It's the website. Go order you a white or black sticker. It doesn't matter. If you win, you get not only the mirror, but you get a t-shirt and the sticker as well. So this is the real one, And you can see the spot on the door. I'll show you right now. This thing broke off of it. I don't know what happened, but this is the original mirror off of my Charger. So if you want a piece of this car, you've got till September 20th to order your stickers. But like I said, that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much again, and I will see you in the next one.